Welcome to the Coach V Show, your Hollywood radio show for personal development, powered by the Island City Media Group, where the beach meets the streets. But we are your personal development show in Hollywood, where iron sharpens iron. Together we rise. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Coach V Show, where we are highlighting from UMortgage and my man who runs his podcast that I have been a guest on, the Get Better podcast, Get Better Every Day podcast. If you Google, or you can find it also on YouTube. Meet me out, my boy, Matt Gougé. He's got a great story of just his upbringing from just, real blue collar upbringing to almost dying to now becoming one of the successful people in the mortgage industry, and has a national mortgage company that could help you in what you do. But tune in and get ready to take notes, because he's going to be dropping some knowledge that you want to make sure that you note and deploy all over your life, leadership, and business. Here on the Coach V Show, where iron sharpens iron. Together we rise on Island City, where the beat meets the streets. And now a word from our sponsor.
Whenever it's cold outside and you need a little heat, at the game or in a plane is comfortable on your feet. When it's time for a nap, it's a pillow for your sleep. Get your comfy blanket now. Get your comfy blanket now.
Welcome to the Coach V Show, your Hollywood radio show for personal development, with expert insights and interviews to help you, me, and we work to be our best and live our best life, offering from your consideration through some of my insights, but definitely through my featured guests, these success frameworks, life lessons, and behavioral models that, should you find value in them, and there is value, that you subscribe and deploy it all over your life, leadership, and business. Here on the Coach V Show, powered by the Island City Media Group, broadcast from Dash Radio Studios, Hollywood, California. Welcome to the Coach V Show, and thank you so much for tuning into this episode, where we are featuring brother Matt Gougé. Matt, the mortgage guy, is an independent mortgage broker and founding partner of UMortgage. Matt is dedicated to providing value to his clients, base and referral partners. After spending 5 years in direct lending, Matt made the switch to be an independent mortgage broker in 2018. As an independent mortgage broker, he takes pride in advising in a wide variety of clients with diverse needs as to which lender and loan product is right for them and their scenario. Matt's keep it smiling approach is educating clients and has been a huge catalyst in the growth he has seen throughout his mortgage career. And for those of you that are into the podcast game, he also has the Get Better Everyday podcast. Well, he'll talk about and tell you when you can tune into that as well. So welcome to the Coach V Show, brother Matt Gougé. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you so much for having me, Coach V. It's always good. You get around people with good energy, man. It just feels the energy transfers, man. So it's coming into my body right now. I can feel it.
And you, brother, definitely. We had a great jam session as we recorded for your show previously. And just to reconnect with you here, and that you would take the time out of your busy schedule, your family time, and with that you use for you and your staff, that you would come on the show. Thank you so much. Let's get to it. Let's talk about Genesis Point. Where did you start? Where were you born? Your early life story, please, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, we could start way back in the beginning. Sacramento, California, born and raised, and come from humble beginnings. And I think it's important for people to understand, they might see, man, successful business, beautiful family, great trips, nice car. My dad was a truck driver, and, before he was driving trucks, he was loading trucks, so he worked. JCPenney's used to have a warehouse down Watt Avenue. He'd load trucks and, busted his ass doing that, hard work, driving to Reno twice a week and putting chains on an 18-wheeler going over the hill. That stuff's not easy. And my mom, to help pay the mortgage, because they always told me the story, the house that my dad still lives in, they bought in 1981. It was a neighborhood they liked, and they really wanted to be homeowners. they had a $1,200 take home pay, and that mortgage was about $1,000 a month.
Wow.
Back in the early 80s, I think it was a
That's
12%.
a lot for the 80s, right?
Well, yeah, 12% first and 18% second. People are crying to me about 5.99 interest rates where theirs was 12 on the first. And so, I didn't have any golden spoons, silver spoons, any of those spoons, right? I had plastic spoons, if anything, but was raised to work hard and watching my dad wake up at 3:30 every morning to get into the warehouse by 4 to go out and drive those 18-wheelers to and from Reno and Hayward, injected something in me that's priceless. That's better than any Harvard education. And that's hard work, because you and I are around enough business people to know, hard work and grit is going to get you way farther in life than anything else. I know some of the best in the game when it comes to business building, when it comes to entrepreneurship, when it comes to all this stuff. And it's not, the degree that turned into the business success. It's the hard work and dedication, day in and day out. And so, I grew up rather simple, played Little League baseball and went to public school, went to Sac High here in the Sacramento area, graduated in 98, and then went on to study at Sac State and at CSU Sacramento, had the privilege of doing some international study. So I did an exchange to Australia, was the first place I went, and studied at the University of Technology, Sydney, which was cool, man. I think that was, really eye-opening for me. I know you talk about world travel. It's great. I think not all people understand, and you've got podcast listeners across the world. Right. For Americans especially, if you've never traveled anywhere, it's hard to understand the level of perspective and the level of education you can get from traveling outside whatever area you currently live in. And so I enjoyed it so much that the second I got back, I said, where else can I go? And they said, well, if you're studying business and you're studying international relations, and you've got an interest in Spanish, we've got a great university down in Querétaro, Mexico, where we could send you. And so I did that. I did 3 semesters down in Mexico, and almost stayed. Honestly, I almost became an accountant in Mexico, and California might not have heard from me again. But I had a few classes to get back to, so I came back, finished my degree. Graduated from Sac State in 2005. For people who are going to knock me for taking 7 years to do it, I had some fun, right? Went to Australia, went to Mexico, and did it at my pace, right? So from 2005 to 2013, I ran a small business, a local poker room, and it's all the things I like. I like interacting with people. I like numbers and business and figuring out how to optimize and strategize around, how to make a business run smoothly and effectively. Just knew I wasn't going to be there forever. So late 2013, early 2014, a buddy of mine approached me and said, listen, mortgage could be your thing. You're great with numbers. You got a great network and you're great with people. Come check out mortgage. And for anybody who knows, kind of my mortgage history from between 2014 and 2020, it was just massive growth, and we've got all the accolades and all the awards up on the wall, which, yesterday's home runs don't win today's ball games. So I'm not going to bring those out. But, found my niche and found a calling in mortgage. And now it's a matter of impacting as many people as possible, creating life-changing opportunity through home ownership. And so, the bigger I can grow my team inside of the bigger picture, which is UMortgage, which we're a nationwide lender, the more people we can have impact on. And I've personally seen it where someone's at the closing table and they're crying. The first person in their family to ever buy a house, to own a house. And it's something that it's a big deal. It means a lot to me. So being able to be involved with that is something special. So that's, might be a little long-winded, but that's kind of start to where we're at today.
That's great. Yeah.
And, me and you talked a little bit about it before. It hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows, right? And that is where my Get Better Every Day podcast, my message to anybody is, don't be discouraged. Don't feel like you're the only one that comes across, trials and tribulations in life, because you might look at what I've currently presented. Wow. Great life, great net worth, great family, all this stuff. When you peel back the onion a little bit, and you hear more about the story, I can tell you about the darkest days. And, in 2011, as I'm managing the poker room, my first son was born in 2009. I let some of these past demons that probably showed up, during my early teenage years, get the best of me. And for anybody who's struggled with anything, whether it's alcohol, whether it's pills, whether it's, a food addiction, mental health, it can get pretty dark pretty fast. And thankfully for me, it wasn't total darkness, right? Because I think me and you and anybody listening probably know some people that the lights went out forever for their time on earth. For me, there was some close calls in 2011. On October 19th, 2011, my wife came home, and enough people had come to her and say, "You've got to intervene. We got to put a stop to this. This guy's got some potential and he's got a good heart, but he's in a bad place." And on that day, thankfully, I've got a partner in my wife that she said, "It's over. It's over. It's done." And I can tell you, Coach V, that from somebody who's at the bottom of that grave, just has dug yourself as deep as you can go, I wasn't proud of the man who I was. I wasn't proud of who I looked, at in the mirror when I got up every day, but I couldn't help myself. I was beyond gone. And, I was pouring dirt on that grave one day at a time. Without her, I wouldn't be here today. Right. And so, forever in my beautiful wife Katrina's debt. But I was so sick and tired of living that and hating myself and not being able to stop that I was ready. And I think too, for people listening that are struggling with anything, you've got to be ready. Everybody around you could be, super excited about new year, new you, all these great things. You've got to be personally ready. And, knock on wood, knock on whatever you want to walk on, just celebrated 11 years, last October.
Yeah, baby. Congratulations.
I've got clear eyes, full heart, and I can't lose. That's something that somebody shared that quote with me, and I love it. Even amidst certain adversity, business adversity or other stuff, people like, "Matt, you got this great attitude. You got all this good energy, man. How do you stay so positive?"
Right.
And I say, I was dead in my driveway. How can I not be? Just me being here today, just me talking to you, being able to continue to, bless my family and work hard. And since, that dark time 11 years ago, we had our second son. We've raised two amazing boys together. It's not all perfect. There's good times and bad, but I'm extremely grateful just to be here. I love Les Brown. And when you ask Les Brown, he says, "I'm blessed and highly favored." That's how I feel right now, man. Because just being here, I'm winning. A deal might fall apart in your business. Somebody might get mad at you for something, but all this stuff is so small and trivial in the whole scheme of things, right? The fact that I'm living, breathing, I woke up this morning and I'm able-bodied to get out here and spread some positive energy, some joy, and do whatever I plan to do. It's a win, man. So I'm feeling good.
That's awesome, man. What a life. 42?
42. Yes, sir.
42 years old. Now, let's start off first with the world perspective. I talk so much and coach, teach, and train so much about mindset, emotional intelligence, performance, perspective, and effective communication. I love what you said, because I was not a world traveler till I was a 26-year-old senior at UC Davis. Shout out to the Ags and shout out to you. I mean, you're 7 years, still beat my 8-year college program.
You want to talk about the Sac State UC Davis game? We'll save that for another time.
Oh man, I was at that game. It was the best sporting event in Sacramento in the last 5 years. I mean, there was more people at that game. I think the last time there was 21,000. I played in that game versus Sac State, maybe 2000 or 2001, that they had a full house like that. So shout out to Sac State, man. Phenomenal season. Their head coach has moved on to Stanford with the majority of their staff, but you and Jacques, Renee, you know, I love Renee, and he's a Sac State guy, including all the law enforcement cats that I roll with here are all Sac State cats. So I really respect that. But talk about that world perspective, because I didn't get a chance to travel the world till I was 26. I went down to Australia. That happened to be my first time, and I really looked not only at the world differently, but I really appreciated the United States even more, because with all the brokenness in the politics and the right and the left and the middle and all that type of talk, I really love being an American. And I always tell people, Matt, I'm not as American as apple pie with a name like Billy Amituiva, but I'm definitely as American as coconut pineapple ice cream. What that means, I'm not sure, but I always get a jiggle, right? Or a giggle and a laugh. But you really don't know how good we have it until you go somewhere else. So just talk about perspective. I think perspective in general is something that's needed. To me, that's greatly rooted in the attitude of gratitude. And anyone with a bad attitude, let alone the wrong perspective, cannot be successful. And I don't make that shit up. That's just how it works.
Right.
So
Yeah.
talk about gaining that worldwide perspective in about a minute or so, please, Matt.
For sure. Yeah. Because I think that, besides worldwide perspective, just it's a perspective on diversity. And of all the things in my life, I really, really am thankful that I grew up in a place that was really diverse.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in neighborhoods and went to schools that were diverse, because I went to Sac High in the 90s.
Yeah.
White dudes were the minority, right?
Yeah. Mexican, Black, Asian, Hmong, right?
Yep.
I mean,
yep.
Yeah,
everybody.
Right?
Then there was little old Matt Gougé. But I was able to be exposed to different people, different, races, different, demographics when it comes to income and how they're living, and, single family homes, and someone's living with grandma, and, some people, are barely getting by. Then you expand that to a worldwide perspective. Right. And I think that's a lot of the perspective I got there was just that we're all human. Right.
Say that again, Matt.
Yeah.
Right. Say that again.
We are all human, and you can go. I mean, we flew over to Fiji, man, and I rented a little car. Me and a guy from Sweden, a guy from Germany, and a guy from France. The four of us got this rental car. We drove the whole big island of Fiji, and you could be out in the middle of nowhere. They're human beings, right? Just like we are. Right. And when I got into mortgage, I took a lot of pride in not just like the childhood and the upbringing and then the travel, but then also to managing that poker room. That poker room was another good one, right? We're on the corner of East Sacramento and Oak Park. So I told him, I said, I've got politicians and lawyers and pimps and prostitutes and everything in between.
Real
right?
talk. Yeah.
And so, the mortgage game and really anything you're doing is the same thing. I can help someone buy their first house in the worst neighborhood for $110,000, and then I can turn around the next day and go to a signing where the general surgeon who's married to a heart surgeon are buying a $3 million place, right? And at the end of the day, they want the same thing. They want a house to call home for their family, where they're loved and protected. It's the same human need, right? No matter if it's this person in this neighborhood from this background, or this person in this neighborhood from that background. And so, I really enjoy that part of it too. When I was managing the poker room, I thought it was the most amazing thing. Sit around. This guy's from Turkey. This guy's from Afghanistan. this guy is from, Australia, someone over there from South Africa, and this person's, Chilean, like, and we're all human beings, all having a good time. And so, I think that has enhanced my ability to run a business in a country that's as diverse as this one. And to your point, proud to be an American because of a lot of things, a lot of freedoms and a lot of other things. Diversity is definitely one too, where imagine how boring of a life we'd have if everybody rolled to the same beat, right? I come across different folks every day, and me and my wife, we joke a lot, man, that like whenever you see somebody like that's kind of weird, and you think to yourself, I'm kind of weird too in my own way.
Real. No, that's a great perspective. And I think that is the worldwide perspective. At least part of it is that people are people, humans are humans. And when you have that type of awareness, then you can really make it anywhere. Right, Matt? Right?
Yes, sir. You put me anywhere, man.
Yeah. Successful people that know and have a great people approach and an understanding of respect, appreciation. That's huge. Talk about, your return from the dead in a minute or so, and just talk about how now your perspective changed. And I talk about, like Jim Rohn says, for things to change, you must change. I add to that. So that's Jim Rohn's quote. And I always say, well, for things to change, you must change. If you don't change, nothing changes. But if you do change, everything changes because you are the key. Talk about that and the changes that you made, this inward metamorphosis and change with outward activity, action, performance, and results. Come on, Matt.
Oh, man. Yeah. You know me, and I love that stuff because, self-development is something that I fell in love with because I realized, and it took a little while, right? When you're in the darkest place, I'm nobody, I'm not worth anything, I'm not going to amount to anything. Your internal dialogue tells you, don't do anything because it's not worthwhile. You're just, a born screw up that's not worth anything. When your mindset changes and you get around enough that you listen to Jim Rohn, you listen to Les Brown, you listen to some of these folks that start, injecting this stuff into you, you make progress. And I think for anybody who's starting out, you don't have to have the biggest vision in the world. Maybe you just want to see the next couple steps, but the progress is from, having something controlling you to saying, listen, I'm clean 7 days and I haven't touched anything. I don't need that stuff. Right. And then it's 14 days and 30, and somebody who wants to lose weight, you don't have to go from 300 to 180 in a month, but what's it going to feel like when you get to 290 and you start to make some progress? And so as I started to walk down that path and realize getting better every day was one step at a time, I can remember with clarity, I was in Rancho Cordova. It was an event put on by NAREP, the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals. My buddy Rico Rivera was running the program. He had Hal Elrod, who's a local celebrity, wrote The Miracle Morning, and appeared on Oprah. He was up there talking about self-development, talking about getting better every day in his own words, right? He's got The Miracle Morning and things like that. And he shared a Jim Rohn quote about, your level of success will rarely exceed your level of personal development.
Yeah.
I love that quote so much that I printed it, I framed it. It's been in my office for 8 years, 9 years now, since that 2014 conference. And I've seen the magic of it because a poor kid who got free lunch, who had a truck driver dad and mom was working in the cafeteria or was cleaning houses. And, the best toys I had were G.I. Joes in the dirt. Now my son's freaking building his own toys with a 3D printer. Different worlds, right? But if I can get better every day and grow a mortgage business, grow a real estate portfolio, have a healthy, happy family, and do all these things, why not the next person? And that's where, you start to really get excited when you realize not only can you affect this change within yourself, but then you start getting around other people and you say, you know what? I wonder if I breathe a little bit of this into this person. What would they be? And you see the light up in other people, Coach V. I think that's probably my next season. And that's part of the genesis of Get Better Everyday podcast is I've seen it for myself. I've seen massive change and massive growth with nothing more than little small incremental steps of getting better every day, with paying attention and being intentional about which direction I'm headed. And I think the next season of my life is sharing that with others.
Oh, that's
Because
big time.
we've got, last night at the Kings game, it was mental health awareness night, right? So they're talking about mental, there's people struggling, and I get it. I'm one of you. I'm one of the people who went through struggle, and I didn't let it end me. I didn't let it limit me. I didn't let it hold me down. I looked it square in the face, took it on, and have continued to get better every day. And don't, get it twisted. There's still struggle. There's still stuff that comes up in your life. I don't even have to ask. I know it in my life and others. But with the right mindset, we can take this stuff on, see it with the right perspective. And like I said to you earlier, I'm going to have stuff go wrong, and then I'm just going to find the perspective of, but I'm alive.
Yeah.
And that's going to conquer any of that hurt, pain, or short amount of suffering in that stuff. So I'm a big believer in the self-development stuff, and I'm all in, man. I'm all in with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love how you talk about, because I do urge my highest level clients to still go about the process of doing what it is that created their mass wealth and huge reach and influence worldwide. But I also ask for their consideration that the only way for them to reach their next level is to now help somebody else become the very best of themselves. And a lot of them don't really understand that concept at first. And until they reach it or come to a community event with me where we help kids with Invictus Youth Foundation, or they just hang around me and they go, okay, I get what you're saying. I was like, yeah, because your highest reach is never going to be obtained, your highest performance, until you're able to serve others, whether in your own organization, in your community. And a lot of it is not going to be shown in the P&Ls and the profit loss, for the accounting department. But in terms of you becoming more, then you are able to attract and do even more, right? So I love how you said that. And for the listeners out there, just where Matt is right now in terms of his journey at 42, he's on here not just because he is successful and significant, but because of who he's going to become. I want to see what that's going to look like, and get a forecast, right? And then, so talk about now, what are the 3 to 5 things that UMortgage has subscribed to and you live out daily, you try to better daily, that has helped your business become what it is now, face the challenges within the mortgage industry today, and then just moving forward, what is the focus that now other mortgage folks within my network that are watching is to get back to these fundamentals, to do what the successful do? What is that for you, the 3 to 5 aspects, brother Matt?
Yeah, I'd be happy to share, because UMortgage, we're relatively new. I was one of the founding partners in 2020, and we really have grown a ton in the last couple of years. The first year was laying a great foundation, which most businesses should do. Before we had originating loan originators, we had human resources and marketing and support staff around everything, and then we started actually conducting business. But to your point about the things that we really lean on, one of these that I know you're really going to like is relationships, not transactions. In the mortgage business and in the mortgage game, a lot of people feel like it's a sales game.
Yes, sir.
But I know that you align with this, because you shared a quote with me about, getting wealthy through relationships.
There's money in the transaction, but the wealth is in the relationships. Yes, sir.
Right. So relationships, not transactions, relates to how we communicate internally, right? And how we're communicating with sales staff and operations staff, executive leadership, everybody, right? We're human beings and we're all in this together. And of course, how we interact with the consumer, who this is the largest financial transaction likely of their life, is buying a home.
Right.
And so,
right.
We're going to treat it as being that important. And for a lot of people, this is wealth creation beyond their wildest dreams. And we're having direct impact on them and their family. And so I could give you countless stories from my mortgage career where, I couldn't tell you the amount of the loan, I couldn't tell you the interest rate, but I could tell you about the veteran who was crying at the closing table. At 55 years old, he didn't think he'd ever buy a house, right?
Real talk. Yeah.
The single mom who's got a disabled child who just was so frustrated with the fact that like the houses that she was renting or the apartments she was renting just didn't serve her disabled child. Buying a house of her own with wider hallways and the ability to care for it. Like, that's the kind of stuff that relationships, not transactions. And, we'll continue to build on that. We'll continue to grow that way because that stuff matters in business. And that, and I know that. Another one of our mantras is get better every day. And, it's really cool when you get around other people who are getting better every day, because we've all got opportunities where, you're going to do something perfect or you're going to learn from it. Right.
Yes, sir.
And all of us are going to run into stuff. Today I could think of 2 or 3 different examples where I said, you know what, why didn't we notice that this one at this appraised value had this loan to value, and if we lower the loan amount by this much, we'd save the borrower, $2,000 in cost, and we put some money in the, like, there's always opportunity to get better every day. And so, when the whole culture and the whole organization aligns around that, some magical stuff can happen. And so that's another vital piece of it. Our company, vision is basically creating life. Oh, shoot.
Take your time. It's all good.
Yeah. I got it up on my wall, right? The funny part is we just developed this Q4 of last year, so I'm trying to bring it off of memory. I could go grab it.
Grab it. Okay, go grab it. Yeah, go grab it. For those of you tuning in, we're here with Matt Gougé with UMortgage. He's about to share some insights, and he's back. Thank you for tuning in.
I didn't know if we're going to edit it out. Some of the stuff gets edited. If it's not, then that's life, man. Life's imperfect.
It's all good. It's all good. We're not going to edit it out.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's keep it real. I like to say one take, no edits. Creating life-changing opportunities through home ownership. And that's really the overarching thing is, home ownership. We talk about being proud to be an American or the American dream. It means a lot to people. And I know that, right? And so for some people, this is not a place where the landlord can sell the house. This is a place where my kids know they can always come. This is a place where they can walk to school. This is a place where they know the neighbors. And if we need a cup of milk or, some sugar, we know where to go. For others, it might be a 10, homes rental portfolio that helps send, future generations to college, whatever that is. There's life-changing opportunity through home ownership because not just because I'm in the space myself and I'm a mortgage professional, the data clearly shows that people with net worth hold real estate, and real estate's an appreciating asset that is attainable for everybody. And so I think that this life-changing opportunity through home ownership is something that, like me and you talked about earlier, I'm trying to get everyone involved, because I've got, diversity in people that I know and diversity in the people that I'm serving, and they all deserve the opportunity for home ownership. So whether it's, down payment assistance, first time home buyer who's buying something for $140,000, or whether it's, somebody buying their 19th investment property, building, real legacy wealth for future generations, we're going to be there to serve it. And so it's neat to be a part of. And
huge. Yeah.
I really, if you talk to me about my passions, it's obviously my family, And that is something that will forever lead, you know, my beautiful wife who brought me back from the dead, my beautiful boys who, you know, continue to inspire me to become the best version of myself so that they can see what that's like, you know, and I ideally, you know, become even better versions of this, you know, Gougé legacy. Then the other passions are, you know, helping people with this home ownership piece and building wealth through real estate. And then the wider net is the get better every day movement, right? Where no matter where you're at, no matter where you're starting, there's opportunity to get better every day. And so, yeah, that's the three buckets that I'm going to continue to pour into over the next few decades. I want to share something with you, Coach V, because I think it's fun, right? It's
Please.
fun. It's fun to dream big. And you know, you and I have both talked to people with massive success, right? And dream big and pursue it, you know, with, you know, ruthless ambition. I've always rooted for the Sacramento Kings, and I've been at Sacramento Kings games since 1986. And my grandma, you know, drove her little blue Cadillac. My grandpa didn't care; he didn't want to go, and we go out to Arco Arena. And so I set this vision sometime last year. I've been taking my boys to games, and for me, it's nostalgic to be in the arena rooting for the Kings and seeing my boys like I was a young boy rooting for the Kings. Partial ownership of the Sacramento Kings. And you talked about, you know, Matt Gougé's future and whatnot. If I'm able to help enough people, if I'm able to serve enough, right? Because you know, and I know that, you know, I'm only going to go as far as possible based on how many people I can serve, based on how many people I can help. Then the big lofty goal is partial ownership of the Sacramento Kings. You know, a 2.5 or 5% minority stake is still a pretty big deal. So don't hold me to being like a 50% owner. But you know, serve a ton of people on the way, and then you know, I'm passionate about kids and youth sports, and I know that you're highly involved in all that stuff. You know, give kids that similar experience that I had, right? Where I'm out there rooting for my lowly Sacramento Kings in the 80s when, you know, you think you've seen some bad years here in the last decade. You haven't gone back to the 1980s and 1990s Kings, man. It was tough.
No, that's awesome. And that's great for you, because it really is true. It's better to shoot too high and miss, still hitting great heights, versus shooting too low and hit. So for you to be audacious and come on a Hollywood radio show and say that's huge. We got about 2 to 3 minutes. So let's get straight to the point on these. Taking, you know, being born here, going to Sac High, going to Sac State, world travel for some overseas education, graduating in 7 years, poker room, near-death experience, got into the mortgage industry, created your own company. And now from everyone it is that I talk to is like, man, this is the guy. This guy is freaking rising. You got to connect with him. We connected. And then now you're also talking about forecasting a minority or a small ownership stake within the Kings, who, from a Laker fan, and believe me, my Lakers suck. I don't even watch Bron and the boys right now. I just don't think it's worth my time. I'd rather go watch my kids practice. My son starts basketball practice tonight. But to see the Kings have the level of success, it just shows that, hey, this is what the successful do. And it starts somewhere between talent acquisition at the NFL, NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, and great leadership, ownership. It's somewhere within that realm. But them and getting, you know, a former head coach who's also a Golden State Warriors assistant, and they won last year. I thought that was a great step, right? But taking all of your experiences now and your insights along with this foresight, what would be your message? What's Matt Gougé's message to the world?
I think my message is we've all got value to add on this short little journey. And I think that for those who haven't realized that and haven't realized the massive potential that each one of us has, you got to turn that light on, because the world needs it. The world needs whatever it is. Some people are great people connectors. Some people are great at arts. Some people are great at sports, but whatever it is, don't sell the world short by not turning that light on. And I think, I'm still a really small piece in this whole big puzzle. And I got some buddies that remind me, they say YAS, you ain't shit, right? Like no matter what I do, you ain't shit. But still, I think about like what I've been able to do over the last decade, the people I've been able to impact.
That's right.
Whether it's the homeowner who bought their first house, whether it's the investor who bought the next one, whether it's the veteran who bought his home that he never thought he'd buy, or maybe it was a kid that I ran into that I inspired. Maybe it was a fellow loan originator who's having a rough time and I've pumped him up and gave him a little bit of inspiration. None of that stuff would be here if I hadn't turned on a light back in 2014 and said, you know what, you've got something more to add.
I like that.
You've got something inside you. And unfortunately for a lot of people, it just doesn't get turned on. And, I've been witness to enough of it to know, Coach V, that you take any person listening. If you're listening to this, I'm talking to you. You've got greatness within you. You just got to turn it on. And once you turn it on, then you start getting a little bit better every day. And then a year from now, 2 years from now, a decade from now, you realize like, holy cow, you add whatever it is you're going to add, make the world a better place, make the people around you a better place, make your community a better place. That's what I think I want everyone to hear. And one of my favorite quotes, I say it on the Get Better Everyday podcast all the time. People will overestimate what they can do in a year or two and underestimate what they can do in a decade. In the last decade, if you would have found me a decade ago, Coach V, I would have told you, and I bet most people around me would have told you, don't count on this guy for much.
Yeah.
He's not worth a lot. He's not doing a lot. And I probably wouldn't count on too much coming out of this guy. Now, a decade later, I can tell you with absolute certainty, over the next 30, 40, 50 years, I'm going to give way more to this world than I'm ever going to ask of it. And I'm going to give more to people than I'm ever going to ask of them in return. And I'm going to have a hell of a time doing it, man.
I like that. Turn on your light. And in that, let's go 30 seconds, please. Shout outs. Who'd you like to shout out here on the Coach V Show?
Oh, man. I got to shout out Hal Elrod. I think he helped me turn on that light. I think he helped me turn on that light back in 2014. And I haven't told him yet. I should tell him, we're 6 degrees of separation. I got enough mutual friends where I could get to him. My wife, she knows it, man. She knows.
What's your wife's name?
Katrina.
Shout out Katrina. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, she has been everything. I mean, there's no other way to put it. She's been everything. Without her belief in me when I didn't believe in myself, if I was still here, which is a big if, it wouldn't be in this version. It wouldn't be this version of me. So anything that anybody looks at and says, this guy's doing this at a high level, this guy's had success in this area, this guy's done this, it's thanks to her.
That's awesome.
And so, ultimately, she was the one that said, you're worth more. You deserve better. Let's get on the right track. And then it was one day at a time, one step at a time. Here we are.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, man, thank you for coming on the show. And to everybody who's tuned in, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Coach V Show, where iron sharpens iron. Together we rise. Powered by the Island City Media Group, where the beach meets the streets. I want to thank Matt for coming out and just sharing some of his success, his insights, and his vision for, hey, this is how the successful do it. This is how I do it. So thank you, Matt, for that. And Matt, you got a final 30 seconds. What's your final on being on the Coach V Show, brother?
Oh, I just enjoy it. I think that, being around other people that are inspiring, being around other people that are moving in the right direction, is something that it can't be overstated. right? If you're coming into 2023 thinking to yourself, man, I want more, I want to do more. It's really a matter of getting around the right people, because then once you do, you get this positive momentum. It can't be stopped, right? And the more Coach V's I can get around, the more, positive, great people I can get around, the better. And then you start realizing, man, these highly motivated, highly productive, great human beings, they tend to roll together, right? And they introduce you to more of them, right? So off and running.
That's awesome. And as Matt was sharing, I just want to add just to what he's talking about sharing the light and starting. I do know this, and this is what the successful do. Not easy, just worth it. And that's daily habits, daily activities, daily routines, automated tasks, standard operating procedures. When you have that in your life with an outcome and an objective that you want to achieve, the statistics go way up and the probabilities go way up in terms of your ability to achieve it, and then achieve it on a high level. In the world of why, and I do appreciate the sentiments and the teachings that's being taught about purpose and why, it still comes down to me that I have found for the successful, it's the who you believe in, the who it is that you believe you are, and the people who believe in you. Those are the who's that I have found that have been the most impactful in my life through experience. I'm not talking about some shit I saw on a YouTube channel or saw on somebody else's show or read on a book. This is through experiences what I have found that I would just love to add to the listeners out there to take into consideration, that if you find value in it, that you subscribe and deploy it all over your life, leadership, and business. That's our show today. Big shout out to our boy, Matt Gougé from UMortgage and the Get Better Everyday podcast. How can people tune into that podcast before we leave, Matt?
It's on Spotify. It's on Apple Podcasts. If you just Google Get Better Everyday podcast, you're going to find me. I'm the one that's most active, even though 4 or 5 might have the same name.
Okay.
Slowly but surely, we're getting the video recordings up on YouTube. So you can find it, Get Better Everyday on YouTube as well. The latest and greatest, though, is on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And that's a really fun passion project every week. New guests from, sports and business and all kinds of different walks of life, sharing how they're getting better every day.
That's awesome. Thanks for that. And Matt, so you and I just connected on IG. How can people get a hold of you should they either need your mortgage services, want to be featured on your show, or just connect with you for networking? How do they do that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you could find me on all the social platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Matt the Mortgage Guy on Instagram. It's Matt the Mortgage Guy UM for UMortgage. If you're looking for a mortgage specifically, you go to greatmortgagebroker.com. You fill out that quick form, and we're nationwide. So we're able to help you nationwide. We'll be in touch, and, our goal is always to serve you at the highest level. Client experience is everything to us. So there's that. Yeah. And if anybody's interested in the Get Better Everyday podcast, you can always email me, team, TEAM @mtmg.com. And we'll see how we can connect and collaborate.
Let's get the word out. Yeah. Let's get the word out. So thank you again, Matt, for coming on the show. And for everyone listening, it's not just for the sake of success that Matt and I come on a show like this or have our own podcast and all that, but really for the sake that you be your best. Because in doing so, you realize the best of your abilities and that everything and anything that you dream, work, and pray for can be achieved. This is how your boy Matt Gougé and your boy Billy Amituivai lives, all about faith and family. Grateful for God's amazing grace. Until next time, thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Coach V Show here on Island City, broadcast from Dash Radio Hollywood Studios. Until next Manda Motivation Monday, one love, mad respect. Live it. Choo-hoo!